Today we have something very special planned for you guys. Today we're going to be doing something very different, and we're going to eat a kratom leaf. Let's do it. All right, come with me real quick because I want to show you guys something. So this is Little John. And Little John was actually brought in by a customer. This is actually a kava plant. We don't have any kratom plants currently in the store. It's really hard to keep them in the store because of the temperature fluctuations and the sunlight fluctuations. But we do have a kava plant in store right now that we're desperately trying to keep alive with the way the lighting is. It's becoming increasingly more difficult, but it is great to have in the store so people can actually see what they're actually drinking. So one of my good friends actually has a kratom tree at his house. And so he decided to bring in 2 kratom leaves for me to try and that we'll be eating together on this episode. This is going to be my first time eating the leaf completely right off the plant, so I'm excited to try it and see what the effects would be. This is not my first time actually seeing a raw kratom leaf, but it is going to be my first time eating one. We did have a vendor that used to come in for our Wellness Wednesdays that would actually sell kratom trees to our customers directly. So I have seen them before, I just haven't had the pleasure of trying one right off the plant. I'm very curious to see how it's going to taste. I think it's going to be very bitter. I think it's going to be very oaky, if that makes sense, just because of the bitterness of the tea itself. When it compares to our kratom powder or our crushed leaf, I think it's going to taste worse just because it's so raw and right off the plant that I think that it's going to be extremely bitter and it's not going to be very palatable. I gotta say though, I don't think I'm really that nervous, and if I were to do it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably say I'm like a 2. All right, everyone, let's take a look at these things. So like we looked at, this is the raw leaf. This right here is the crushed leaf kratom that we serve at Kava Love. So essentially all this is these leaves ground up, and not ground up as fine as our powder, which literally looks like a brown baby powder. And the differences are that the crushed leaf kratom is a little bit stronger. It keeps its potency, it keeps the strength a lot better than when it's ground up into powder. But powder is a great introductory to have and consume. It doesn't have as intense of an effect as the crushed leaf kratom does. So those are the main differences aside from the way it looks. So as you've probably learned in our other videos, kratom comes from Southeast Asia. So countries like Vietnam, Thailand, China, Japan, and even the Fijian Islands in some cases. Whereas Little John, our kava plant, comes from Fiji. So before it was brewed into a tea, what the farmers would do in these South Asian countries, they would take the leaves and actually chew them instead of brewing them into a tea because it was easier when they were farming to just chew on the leaves. So because they don't have coffee out in the fields and where they're farming, they would just pluck leaves off of the kratom tree. They would use that to stimulate them to keep them going throughout the day. Similar to what we do when we go and get a cup of coffee in the middle of the day when we're feeling a little sluggish. They used to pick these leaves off and chew on these. So you might be asking yourself, well then why doesn't Kava Love just sell leaves and not brew it into teas? Well, the reason is because it's much more enjoyable to consume a beverage than it is to chew on a leaf. So growing kratom is extremely hard in the world because there's only a certain number of places where it can actually thrive and actually grow the proper way. One of those places in the United States is Florida, South Florida to be specific, because of the humidity levels and the temperature levels that makes it more accessible to be able to grow these things in the United States. Otherwise, we have to import it from more humid, dense countries such as Vietnam, Thailand, and other Asian countries. For a kratom plant to really grow to full maturity in order to actually use it to harvest, it takes between 8 and 12 years to grow to its full maturity. And even at full maturity, it doesn't actually produce enough where it would make a difference or be able to operate a business with. So it takes hundreds and hundreds of these trees growing at the same time and reaching maturity at the same point in order to really benefit society. In several different Asian countries, kratom is actually one of their biggest exports, and it's grown so wildly there, so they're able to actually utilize natural resources from their area in order to export their product all over the world. So before we eat it, I was always told in science class, you have to smell it first, right? That's the first step. So let's smell this thing. It smells like a normal leaf and how a normal leaf would smell. There's nothing really crazy about it. It smells green. So this is the texture. It's very standard, a little bit looser than a leaf would be. Like it's very malleable without breaking, which is definitely different than a normal tree leaf, but it's very like sequentially veined, which I think is interesting. But it's very floppy. All right, so I think now's the time, right? And to quote one of my favorite reviewers of all time, one bite, everyone knows the rules. Let's do it. Bitter, like I thought it would be. Yeah, so most people, they keep it in their mouth. So like they'll bite down on it and leave it in their mouth and not swallow it. It's very similar to like a Zyn or having something in your lip like caffeine pouch or something like that. But I swallowed it just because it tasted really good. I like very bitter things, so that's not shocking. So I'm not really noticing any other taste tones other than bitter. And if I were going to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's probably like an 8, probably an 8.5. As far as like taste-wise goes, I would say it's probably like a 6. I'm going to give it a 6.28. Since I've drank the tea in its pure form, I kind of expected it to be like this, but at the end of the day, this was way more bitter than I even imagined it would be. I can understand why people now would want us to do a tea instead of just handing these out all day, but overall, it's not terrible. But I wouldn't go out of my way to do this every day. So when I first got introduced to Kava and Kratom, especially Kratom, I thought, like everyone else must be thinking, it's snake oil. But over the years, it has helped me manage pain in my knees from, athletics and in college and in high school, as well as, pain from going to the gym and things of that nature. So if this was the only way to get that pain relief, I would much rather have this than I would shoving a bunch of Advil down my throat. So expectations, if you guys ever did want to try chewing the leaf, one thing to keep in mind is that when we have the leaf dried out, it provides a strain because of how it's dried out, for how long it's dried out, where it's dried out, all play factors into it. So when you see things like this is our red strain. The typical leaf doesn't have a strain. So I would say to you, it's going to be a little bit more intense and it's not going to have a designated feeling. So it's going to really be up to the individual's body to how they produce the effect of what it provides. So it could provide energy, it could provide relaxation, it could provide stimulation in focus and in memory. So just something to keep in mind if you do chew on the leaf, there is no specific strain. It's only when it's dried out that it provides that. This being the red strain that we talked about, it is very dark. And the reason for that is because the red strain is dried out longer than all the other strains, which gives it that darker hue to it, which makes it more of a relaxing strain. Whereas white gets dried out for a much shorter period of time and is very light in color, and that provides a lot of energy. So I'm here with Eddie. He's a regular customer of ours, so I want him to try the leaf as well to see how he reacts to trying it. Have you ever tried it?
Like just the leaf?
Yeah, just the leaf.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to try this. There you go.
Just chew on it.
You have to chew it and hold it in your mouth. Don't swallow it. It's bitter, isn't it? Yeah, it's very bitter. What if we sold only this?
You wouldn't see me.
So you're saying the drinks make it. You heard it here first. So I think what we learned today was that it's much better to have kratom in a drink than it is to eat the raw leaf. But let us know in the comments if you would try a fresh leaf instead of having it in a tasty, tasty beverage. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you soon.